Don't let others define what momentum means in your life. You cannot get momentum and you can't be your best self without a dedication to self-awareness and self-mastery. Without a personal development edge, you will always be mediocre. Hi, everybody. It's Brendon. I hope you're having a great day. Today is another great day. Choose your attitude. Take a deep breath. Get ready to be intentional this day. Get ready to have a good day. Get ready to give your best today, even when it's hard, to work towards the things that matter to you most. That's what we talk about in the GrowthDay morning show every weekday morning. And I'm always joined by Jamie Kern Lima's in the house.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Growth Day, everyone. Happy Growth Day.
Cheers, Jamie.
Cheers. Pow.
Nice to see you. This week's messaging is all about our topic to you guys, momentum. How do you gain and keep momentum? And that is the hardest thing we've been joking about so many times. It's like sometimes technology gets in your way. Sometimes your spouses gets in the way. Sometimes sometimes life gets in the way. Your health gets in the way. But you know what? If every day you can sense that you brought a little bit of intention to the day and you took just a few actions towards the things that matter the most to you, and you realigned with the best and the highest, truest, strongest part of you, even just for a minute, an hour, you took a breath, you're good to the kids, you have good intentions, you're working hard. I can tell you each day can be fulfilling. And if we're going to have momentum towards something, let's have it towards a fulfilling life. What do you think, Jamie?
I think it's so good. And I think a lot of times, people tend to feel like, oh, I fell off of I fell off the track and I got off track and whatever. And it's like an all or nothing thing, right? And sometimes when you've lost momentum, it can feel like it's easier just to stay not on track, right? And it can feel heavier or harder or more difficult or more challenging to get back on track with your own momentum. And I think what's been so powerful about this week is this idea of, oh, it's okay. You give yourself grace if you feel like you've lost momentum.
Yes.
But taking that one step, right? Like taking that little thing and could you talk to Brendon about just the power of how momentum builds and also I was thinking about this morning when I was out doing my walk. Just this idea, because you talk a lot about summoning joy, and you know what I mean? Can you summon momentum? And I'm curious what you think about that.
Well, most people are summoning momentum every day, but it's unconscious, and the momentum might not be in the direction they really want to go in. Right? Every day we are summoning something, whether we will acknowledge it and take responsibility for it or not.
Yeah.
Our routine patterns, behaviors, thoughts, efforts, they're leading to something. And they're probably leading to exactly how you're experiencing life now. Like our life now is not a culmination of how the week is going. It's what were those decades of intention you had? What were those decades of showing up when no one saw you showing up, right? Like our life, when you're in your 20s and your 30s, you now get to go, oh, it's decades. When you're in your 40s and 50s, it's decades of a pattern, of a rhythm. Denise and I were talking about momentum this morning and how to get it, like positive momentum. And a couple ideas I'll throw by you. One, she said the importance of momentum is a result of a routine. Like you need it, we always talk about it. You have to have scheduled time. You have to do it. She said, it has to be a routine. So that's just what you do. First, set a routine. And the best way to set up routines, guys, when people struggle with that, is called anchored habits, which is if you want momentum in your life, anchor a new routine or habit on something you already always do. So let's say you want to have a healthier lifestyle, and every morning you tend to walk or drive your kids to school. Okay, well, that's something you already do, walk or drive kids to school. Then what you do is go, right after that, go to gym or come home and work out on YouTube. Like, it's like you're already doing whatever you are already doing, anchor before or after that, your new habit you're trying to create. And now it's just something you do. It's something you're gliding it in there. So that's establishing routine. Denise also talked about the importance of making sure that you integrate or have identity with the wins and the progress. But the favorite thing she said this morning, and I'll stop, favorite thing she said was, she always had special projects. And I thought that was so mind-blowing, almost profound. It's like, if you want momentum in your life, sometimes you're just doing the grind, you're doing something every day. It is routine, it is rhythm, but you got to have something. There's always a special project that you're working on that you feel like it's your little secret skunk works project, and you're tinkering and you're working towards it, or it's a special project you're doing to get better on the side that's going to help the main thing. But it's like special projects. I always think of like, oh, I'm always working on a special project, so I feel momentum in my life, even if this thing, like running my big online business, that's just something I do every day. But so I have this special project of writing a book. And now it's like, oh, I'm that special project has momentum. I feel great about life, even if the big thing isn't going as fast as I want.
That's so powerful, because sometimes we think the momentum we need to feel is in like the day-to-day job or in the thing.
The main thing.
But it's like, oh, that's a whole nother way, not only to bring joy. I love what Denise said, but like having a special project, and maybe your momentum is there, right? You know, one thought too that comes to mind is a lot of people say, well, I want to try to feel more gratitude in the day. And, you know, there's, I'm trying to remember who shared this a long time ago, and I thought it was so good. And I started doing this in my life, just that even every morning, the second you wake up and before you put your feet on the ground, just saying thank you, whether it's to God or thank you. Wow, I'm alive today. Like I feel the air like entering my lungs today. I'm opening my eyes and I see the ceiling or the colors around me in the room or whatever it is, right? And just literally, if that becomes a daily habit, you start building momentum of gratitude in your life, right? And it's so simple, because a lot of people are like, oh, I try to meditate and it's like, I can't, and then they stop, and all the things they're trying to implement in their life. But sometimes just the simple things, because one of the things you and Denise talked about that's so good is attaching something to something you already do, right? So in the morning, we already wake up and maybe it's like hitting your alarm or whatever you do, but maybe it's before you put your feet on the ground, just like taking a second and saying, thank you, God, I'm alive, you know, thank you,
Wayne
universe.
taught me that. Wayne Dyer taught me that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
His whole
good.
thing was he turns out of bed, he puts both feet on the ground, closes his eyes, just really centers and says, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. He says it 3 times. Like that's his rhythm. And I just love that. And
do you do that? Do you do that as a practice?
I do that. I wouldn't say as a good practice. I miss it. I would say I miss it 60% of the time. So I miss it a lot. But the good news is I've got so many other gratitude practices. Denise and I walk and we walk. I try to make sure the first few things I talk about is something I'm appreciating or grateful for. It's been something I've been working on in my own life. The high performance planner that I use forces it every day. I don't have a choice. It's like, that's one of my routines. I do that. The planner gives me the momentum. It gives me that mindset. So I fill out the high performance planner every morning, and it's essential, because Denise will tell you, I'm a hot mess without some routine in the morning to get me going. So I'm not, a lot of people can start the day and they are just on fire and they are good to go and they are super smart and focused. I am not that. I need a morning routine to lock in my mindset, to lock in my intention, to know what the heck I'm supposed to do today, to just get going, you know. So whether that's a workout, movement, green tea, coffee, whatever's going to be that day, I just need a little bit. I'm not one of those get up and go guys.
What I love so much about you sharing this, I just have to call this out, because so many people, millions and millions and millions of people now, millions and millions and millions of people now know you for your whole library of New York Times bestsellers and for all your high performance research and habits and planner and all the things. And, you know, they know that Oprah and her whole team, there's so many people go to you to live their best life, for a better life, to perform at the highest levels. And I think what's so cool about this Growth Day morning show is you are also sharing like the real stuff, in the sense of the impact those things have on your life, but that you are also, just like so many of us, where to share that you're a hot mess in the morning. If you didn't have these, this is really powerful, because sometimes people, like, you guys, let me know in the comments if you can relate to this. Sometimes, and even with the launch of my book, Believe It, now that I'm reading so many people's stories and everything, I realize that, oh my gosh, so many people think like, like momentum and motivation are things that happen to other people, or they're just
Right.
kind of that way, or they're just born that way, or they're, you know, that kind of thing. And I love so much, like the day that you the day that you had the blender with your smoothie and you're talking about how you almost missed the show, all the things, right?
I almost miss the show every day. I'm sorry to interrupt. Listen to this, y'all. This show started at 7:30 a.m. Pacific today.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm in Pacific time.
I was out of the shower at 7:14. 7:14. Came to the computer, checked a bunch of stuff to see what's going on with Facebook, because they're not letting us stream in there. Jerks. I don't know what's happening. And so I'm working on that, troubleshooting that. And I got the link to Jamie to start the show at 7:27 a.m. So 3 minutes before. So yeah. I feel like that's kind of my life recently. And that's just been real. We
talk about momentum, right? We're talking, this week's theme is momentum, talking about one, you know, even how do you get momentum? I love what Denise said, which is having a special project. Because listen, there's a lot of people in a job right now and they're frustrated and their boss sucks and all these things. And they're like, how do I feel momentum? I got to keep this job right now. I got to put food on the table. I got to keep my paycheck. Well, maybe it's a special project that is meaningful to you, that you then you feel and generate that momentum again in your life. That really, because when we are moving forward, we feel more fulfilled, right? Maybe it's hopping on here with us and the Growth Day morning show every day. And that's the one thing where you're like, oh, you know, you start to feel momentum in just your own mindset and your ability to feel the day again. We talk a lot about feeling the day on this morning show, because I didn't feel the day for 10 years when I was just living in burnout. And, you know, I think that maybe this morning show is part of your momentum. But I love the theme this week on momentum. I think that's so powerful. And we're not letting Facebook stop us from our momentum either. We're going.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, we do post the replays on community.growthday.com. So at community.growthday.com, which you guys can all join free, that community website we have. And there's a little thing that just says morning show on the tab. And you can see, you know, I don't know, 10 of the best of morning shows we post. Here's my favorite thing that my wife taught me today. Denise said that she came running in as I was like dealing with the Facebook people. And she's like, oh yeah, one more. And her idea was also that don't let others define what momentum means in your life.
Ah, so good. Yeah.
And or success, or, you know, what's good and bad, or what you value is like listen, sometimes momentum for people, it literally is, they got out of bed today, they got showered, and they made themselves something to eat at some point during the day. We all been in that place where we're just down, depressed, sad, frustrated, unwell. You know, that sometimes that's the win for that day. And everyone else will be like, you didn't do anything. That sometimes just the survival and self-care is the win. Other times, depending on what your expectations are, what your projects, your intentions, what your aim or your purpose is, other times, wow, you did, you know, on average, like Jamie and I, we've been doing, you know, I always do like 7-8 hours of video and production every single day for, I don't know, 15 years, you know, it's like a lot. And then you add on all the work and everything else, like we're crushing it because we're in a launch window. Jamie's been in a launch window. Jamie did her first ever live event. She's launched the book, Believe It, which I hope you have supported. And she's never done either of those things before. So she had, you know, this is after building a huge business. And now it's like, these have been special projects for her in so many ways, and her mission, her purpose. And if you looked at what she's done in the last 6 months, you'd be like, that's impossible. That's impossible. But you don't have to compare yourself to her or to me or your Uncle Fred or Aunt Jemima. You don't have to compare yourself to nobody. It is, what is it for you? And are you showing up as your best self? Are you each day gaining more momentum towards building the lifestyle or the dream or the character, the personhood of who you want to be? Real momentum is ultimately growing more into the fullness of ourselves, growing more into the beauty and the full potential that God has gifted us. That's real momentum, but you don't always have days like that. Some days, Wednesday sucks, you know, and Wednesday just sucked. Don't be mad at yourself on Thursday and now get worse momentum on Thursday because you're measuring yourself based on unrealistic expectations of yourself or other people.
Brendon, when we feel like, oh, all of a sudden, like to your point, we had a bad Wednesday, right? And then boom, it's easy to have negative momentum. What do you do when you are all of a sudden aware that you are having negative momentum? Like in all the coaching that you've done over the years, I'm sure this has come up a lot. And how do you stop that and reverse it?
Yeah. First, you realize you got to own that. You got to own that that negative momentum often comes from your negative thinking. And your negative thinking is, why is this happening? What's wrong with these people? Why am I so dumb? And we start negative self-talk. It all begins with self-talk. Yeah. So we have to, first and foremost, let's observe and be mindful of what is our self-talk right now. And I teach this concept called RWID, relative weight of importance and duration, which is how much weight and importance do we give this, like these thoughts that are hurting us or negative? And if you want to turn it around, you got to start a new, more affirmative, like affirmation-based self-talk, which is honoring of yourself, which is honoring of what you're trying to do, which is honoring of life and God and spirit and purpose. It's realigning with honoring life versus dishonoring self. And so what happens, you lose momentum because you beat yourself up. How do you beat yourself up? You say crap to yourself. When you say crap to yourself, now you want to eat crap. Now you want to lay around and do crap. Like you're just like, everything falls apart from what's up here. Everything comes back up to here. You can never forget every negative thing happening is ultimately coming from, I'm not talking about the external one. I'm talking about what we generate. Right. It is coming from what we are speaking to ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves, the excuses we tell ourselves, the way that we speak to ourselves is setting our real intention and inspiration, motivation, direction for the day. This is why in Growth Day, and what I'm telling everybody, please pay attention to, your primary thing that you must do in your personal development is you must consume and pay for and invest in great personal development. And the reason I say that isn't, I don't care if it's mine. I don't care if it's Growth Day or something else. You need something going into your brain, whether it's podcasts, which can be free, or people's online courses, or you're reading a book because that's also going in your brain. You need this positivity and this purposeful conversation going in your head, because the more you wire that into your brain, the more your brain is set up on that frequency, so that when the lower frequencies of self-doubt, self-harm, upset come in, your brain goes, oh, no, hey, that's a weird station. That station should come in. We're on this station. And so you got to wire that into your brain. This is why personal development is so critical. And for those of you who I call it like self-help apologists who are like, I don't really like self-help, but I do. And because they think it makes them a dork. You're a dork. Welcome to our community. We do this. This is why this woman became $1 billion business builder. This is why I've probably, nearing 1 billion video views of all of our training and our courses, and certainly, the impact and impressions we've been able to make with personal development, because people know you cannot get momentum and you can't be your best self without a dedication to self-awareness and self-mastery. Without a personal development edge, you will always be mediocre, because you'll just settle into the comfort zone. There has to be that conversation in your head saying, you got greatness in you. You can do this. Remember what you're capable of. Try hard, show up, believe in yourself. You got this. Jamie's book, Believe It. Like, you need those things like grooving into your brain if you're ever gonna have breakthroughs.
So good. So many people in the comments saying, thank you guys for talking about the negative momentum, right? Because, so often it's like, we're like, here, the positive, all this stuff, but then that's so real for so many people. When you have that negative momentum, what do you do? And something you just said that was so powerful about honoring life instead of dishonoring yourself.
Self, yes.
Like, can you just share, where's the mic to drop? Because that's like, literally though, that's so powerful, and how it all starts in our mind. Are we honoring life, or are we dishonoring ourselves? And how when you think crap, you eat crap. I can relate to that one. all those things, especially in the past few weeks, all those things. But that's huge. Will you just, Brendon, if you can, because a lot of people are in that space of feeling a little bit negative momentum, and especially after the past 14 months. But the idea of turning it around by honoring life instead of dishonoring yourself, that's huge.
Yeah, it comes from me. From me, I'm a person of faith. I believe in God deeply, and I am somebody who, I just have this belief that having reverence for life is the real secret. And I have reverence for life because multiple times I've faced my death, but I've also been with people in hospice as they've died. And I think if you have the opportunity to be around the difficulties of life, you appreciate them more. And if you have the benefit of having a blessing or a connection with God, creator, universe, a source, whatever you want to call it, wherever your faith or tradition is or isn't, I think what's powerful is, for me, I know this is for me, I won't dishonor life by speaking ill of God's creation. I believe that you're a gift of God. I believe that people are. I believe that people get in tough spots and do irresponsible things, and some people are not well. I believe that explains a lot of the challenges and the issues and the evils that we see in the world. But I also believe that there's some higher plan. I believe that there is something that is very special, that we are alive on the spinning globe in this unfathomably huge cosmos and universe that is constantly expanding, that we don't even understand how it's happening. I think is a very precious and beautiful thing. And I believe that falls down to unit economics, which means it applies to you, which means if you believe the universe is special, then you have to believe you are. If you believe that God created good things, then you have to believe that you are good. You have to believe that if there's blessings in this world, then you yourself are a blessing, because everything is one. And so I just believe to speak ill of myself that's not just self-harm. And we know, listen, any psychologist or therapist tell you having negative self-talk is going to derail your life. It's going to ruin your relationships, ruin your health, ruin your wealth. It's terrible, right? We all know that. But also we should know that, it's very dishonoring of life and the impossibility that you're alive. It's very dishonoring of your God or your faith or your universe, whatever you believe it to be. And I just won't do it. I won't do it. I'm like, who am I to disparage the fact that God gave me this mind and body? Like, really? I just don't have enough ego to bash myself. And so I feel like when you're aligned with something that's higher than you, you honor you.
It's so good. I think a lot of people, even people with strong faith, don't make that connection necessarily as it pertains to themselves, right? I was in a discussion with a bunch of women on Instagram about body image and about the idea of loving your body versus shaming yourself for your body. And, one of the things I talked about was similar to what you just said, actually. I was saying, one thing I try to think about a lot is like, if you can't cheer for yourself, cheer for God's creation, which is you, and shifting that mindset around it.
And for my evolutionary friends, let me help my evolutionary friends, because obviously I believe in evolution too. Let's go to that conversation though. For those who, if you don't have faith, would your grandma, your grandpa, your ancestors be okay with everything they fought and everything they give and all the blood, sweat, and tears that they did to survive? Would they be okay with you speaking ill of yourself after all that they gave for you to even be a possibility? That's honoring life. That's reverence for life. That's reverence for your ancestors' life, that they gave they barely survived to give you the blessing of your body, your breath, your health, your life. So I'm like, I got to feel that behind me too. I got to honor that. I wouldn't want my grandma to hear what I say to myself on a crappy Tuesday. So I'm like, okay, I'm okay. Here's the thing. I'm okay if you say that to yourself. That will come up. Your negative thinking patterns were probably conditioned by somebody else and just got wired in your brain. This is why personal development is about rewiring that brain. And so I'm okay. For those of you who feel like I'm being Pollyannish, I'm like, hey, it's okay if you speak ill of yourself, but it's also your job to catch it and then choose. Okay, am I going to choose momentum here or ego? Am I going to choose to honor myself or beat myself up? What are the repercussions of that? So your self-awareness, that's your job. It's okay if negativity and bad days strike, because they do for everybody. But it's your job to pick up that observation, that mindfulness to it, and then choose the route that's gonna be healthiest and truest for yourself. This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.